I'm Emily Carter, 29 years old and founder of Horizon Innovations, now valued at $10 million. I built this company from scratch, pouring in 80-hour weeks, all to secure a future for my family who struggled financially throughout my childhood. Last Sunday at dinner, my father, David, looked me in the eye and said, "We've given your shares to your brother." My mother nodded in agreement as my father added with a smirk, "You can always make more money." "He can't," I simply replied. "Is that so?" That night, I withdrew all my personal investments. That was just the beginning. Before I continue this unbelievable story, tell me where you're listening from and subscribe if you want to hear more stories about standing up for yourself. Growing up in Springvale, Indiana, our family never had much. My parents, David and Susan Carter, lived paycheck to paycheck. Dad worked at a local warehouse, while Mom juggled part-time jobs to keep us afloat. We lived in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment that always needed repairs Dad couldn't afford. My brother, Nathan, 3 years younger than me, was diagnosed with chronic migraines as a child. His condition wasn't life-threatening, but it cemented his role as the fragile one in our family. Nathan's medical needs always came first, often overshadowing my own needs or school activities. By age 10, I understood the unspoken family roles. Nathan was the one who needed care and protection, while I was the responsible, self-sufficient child who shouldn't add to the family's burdens. I never complained when my parents missed my soccer games because Nathan had a doctor's appointment, or when I got secondhand clothes while Nathan received new ones to avoid triggering his sensitivities. I showed entrepreneurial tendencies early on. At 11, I ran the most successful lemonade stand in our neighborhood, carefully tracking profits in a spiral notebook. By 14, I was repairing smartphones for neighbors, charging $20 per fix when the local shop charged $80. Mrs. Larson, a retired IT specialist down the street, taught me the basics after I showed interest in her home tech setup. She became my mentor during those formative years. "You have a knack for business, Emily," she told me one afternoon after I fixed her tablet. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Throughout high school, I juggled multiple jobs stocking shelves at the local bookstore, weekend shifts at a diner, and tutoring kids in coding. Most of my earnings went into the household fund. When Nathan needed new medication or Dad's car broke down, I handed over my savings without question. It was never demanded outright, but the expectation was always there, heavy like the dust in our attic. When college acceptance letters arrived, I chose a state university over a partial scholarship to MIT. State was closer to home and cheaper, letting me keep working to support my family. I majored in computer science, drawn to courses on tech startups that showed how to build something from nothing. In my sophomore year, in a class on innovation, I met Alex Nguyen. He was a coding genius but admitted he had no head for business. We were paired for a project to create a theoretical business plan, and our complementary skills produced a proposal for an AI-driven analytics platform that earned us the highest grade in the class. "We could actually build this, you know," Alex said over coffee as we celebrated. "It's not just theoretical. The market needs this." My parents were skeptical of my ambitions. "A steady job with benefits is what you need," Dad would say whenever I mentioned startups. Mom would add, "Not everyone can be a tech mogul. Honey, sometimes practical is best." Meanwhile, Nathan dropped out of community college after one semester, saying it wasn't his thing. He drifted between low-paying jobs, never staying long. Each time he quit or was fired. My parents excused it, saying he just hadn't found his calling yet or that the job wasn't right for him. After graduation, I got a job offer from a tech firm in Seattle. The salary was solid, enough to keep supporting my family while building my own life. But the spark Alex had ignited wouldn't fade. Our business talks had moved from hypothetical to real, with Alex coding early versions of our platform in his spare time. The night before, I was set to accept the corporate job. Alex called. "I just quit my job," he announced. "I'm all in on our idea. Are you with me or not?" It was the toughest choice I'd ever faced: security versus risk, stability versus potential, my family role versus my own path. "I need to think about it," I told Alex, my mind racing with excitement and fear. That night, I barely slept. By morning, I had my answer. I called the tech firm and declined their offer. Then I called Alex. Let's do this. The early days were grueling. Alex and I survived on instant noodles and energy drinks, working from my tiny apartment with a single laptop we shared. We built our platform during 18-hour days, tweaking the business model and creating pitch decks for investors. Our first bank loan application was rejected. The loan officer barely glanced at our plan before dismissing us. No collateral, no track record, he said. Come back when you've been in business for 2 years. Walking back to my apartment that day, I cried for the first time since starting this journey, not just from the rejection, but because my mother had texted during the meeting, asking for $400 for Nathan's new medication. It felt like the universe was reminding me of my role, the provider, the safety net, with no net for myself. Alex found me on a park bench, staring at the rejection letter. He sat beside me in silence for a few minutes. We don't need them, he finally said. We'll find another way. And somehow, I believed him. We launched Horizon Innovations from my apartment with equipment scraped together from savings and maxed out credit cards. Our office was a second-hand desk from a thrift store, 2 plastic chairs, and a whiteboard we hung on the wall without asking the landlord. The first 3 months were an onslaught of rejection. I made hundreds of cold calls to potential clients, refining our pitch with each no. Alex worked relentlessly on the platform, adding features based on feedback from the few who gave us a chance. We lived on cheap coffee and discount groceries, stretching every dollar to its limit. Our breakthrough came unexpectedly. Laura Mitchell, head of marketing at a regional e-commerce company, agreed to meet after my 8th follow-up call. Your persistence is something else, she said when we met at a coffee shop, the only venue we could afford. We showed her our prototype, explaining how our AI platform could optimize her company's ad campaigns with real-time analytics their current system lacked. Laura asked tough questions, but I could see her interest. You're raw, but you've got potential. She said, let's try a 3-month trial. That night, Alex and I celebrated with takeout burgers, a rare splurge. That small win felt massive, like the first crack in a wall holding us back. With Laura's contract as proof, I approached my parents about investing. They had $30,000 in savings. Not much, but enough to rent a small office and buy better equipment. I wouldn't ask if I didn't believe in this. I told them at their kitchen table, showing Laura's contract and our business plan. Once we're profitable, you'll get your investment back with interest, and I'll help the family even more. Dad looked skeptical, running his hand through his graying hair. What if this fails? Emily, that's all we have. It won't fail, I said with more confidence than I felt. I won't let it. After a week of questions, they agreed to invest, becoming minority shareholders with a 15% stake. In that moment, I was just grateful for their trust, never imagining how that decision would haunt me later. The next 18 months were a whirlwind of 80-hour weeks. I developed chronic anxiety, often surviving on quick naps between client meetings, coding sessions, and administrative work. My social life vanished. On my 28th birthday, Alex had to remind me it was a special day I'd forgotten in the haze of work. Moving into our first office, a tiny space above a pizza shop, felt like a milestone. A real business address made Horizon Innovations feel legitimate in a way it hadn't before. Hiring our first employee, Rachel Kim, as our client coordinator was both thrilling and terrifying. Writing her first paycheck hit me hard. Someone else's livelihood now depended on us. Laura's contract led to referrals, and we landed 3 big clients, a regional retailer, a tech startup, and a community college. Each brought revenue and new challenges as we scaled. During this time, Nathan married Ethan Brooks, a part-time barista with dreams of opening a coffee shop. My parents expected me to cover much of the wedding, despite Horizon needing every cent for growth. Your brother only gets married once, Mom insisted when I suggested a simpler event. I wrote a $12,000 check, money that should have gone to hiring another coder. When Alex questioned it, I brushed it off as family duty, unable to admit I didn't know how to say no. When we hit $600,000 in annual revenue, I took my parents to dinner to celebrate. Their investment had been key, and I wanted to acknowledge it. "We always believed in you," Dad said, despite years of doubt. Mom added, "We're so proud of how you're helping the family. That's what matters." Their words left me uneasy. Was my success only about what I could provide when their car broke down a few months later? I bought them a reliable used SUV. It wasn't fancy, but it eliminated a constant worry. The business kept growing, though not without hiccups. A software glitch cost us a week of productivity and nearly lost us the retailer account. I developed stress-induced migraines, landing in the ER after fainting during a pitch. "You can't keep going like this," Alex told me in the hospital. "The company needs you healthy." His unspoken concern was clear. My family obligations were draining me. He'd seen the endless calls, the emergency money requests, the way I dropped everything for Nathan or my parents. Samantha Lee from Apex Ventures approached us after a tech conference presentation. Her offer of first-round funding came with tough terms, but would fuel our expansion. "Your valuation is nearing $3 million, she said during negotiations. Impressive for a company so young. The number felt unreal. We'd built something valuable from nothing. But with success came more family expectations. As our team grew to 12 employees, my role shifted to managing people and systems. The learning curve was steep, but I found I had a knack for leadership. Our office expanded to a larger space above the pizza shop, with proper desks and tech. Meanwhile, Nathan and Ethan asked for startup capital for their coffee shop idea. My parents hinted at needing extra support for early retirement. I kept saying yes, trapped in the role I'd played since childhood. When Horizon's valuation hit $5 million, I moved my parents to a better neighborhood, buying a 3-bedroom house in a safe area. Not for Nathan, who still lived nearby, but because he and Ethan often left their kids with my parents when they needed creative time. "This is too much, Emily," Mom said, though her eyes said she wanted it. "You deserve it," I replied. "I can afford it now." Dad inspected the house silently, then said, "Nathan could use a new place too, you know." The comment stung, the usual shift from my success to Nathan's needs. Nathan and Ethan had their first child around this time, and Nathan quit his retail job, citing stress-related migraines. "The environment wasn't good for me," he said at a family dinner. My parents nodded as if this was perfectly reasonable, while I calculated how much more support they'd expect from me. I was already covering Nathan's health insurance through Horizon, listing him as a dependent, a risky move my accountant had warned against. Nathan started calling me directly for money, bypassing our parents. "You're my successful big sister," he'd say with a practiced charm. "I'm lucky to have you." At home, my parents bragged about my success to neighbors, but privately, they focused on what more I could do for Nathan. I overheard Mom on the phone. Emily could easily help Nathan with a house down payment if she wanted to. The resentment grew, clashing with the responsibility I'd internalized. Wasn't this why I'd worked so hard to help my family? But the one-sided dynamic was undeniable. My achievements were valued only for what they could provide others. At a client event, I met Daniel Park, a data scientist whose company signed with Horizon. He was sharp, witty, and direct. When he asked me to dinner, I surprised myself by saying yes. Dating had been impossible between the business and family demands. "Tell me about yourself, Emily," he said on our first date. "Not Horizon, just you." The question stumped me. Who was I beyond my company and family role? I struggled to answer, realizing how much of my identity was tied to responsibility. As we dated, Daniel noticed the constant family interruptions calls during dinner, canceled plans because Nathan needed something, my tension when my parents called. "They rely on you a lot," he observed after I cut a weekend trip short because my parents' water heater failed. "They need me," I said automatically. He chose his words carefully. There's a difference between helping family and being used. No one had ever framed it that way. His words lingered, making me question patterns I'd accepted blindly. With Horizon's success, I considered formalizing our share structure. My parents' 15% stake had grown valuable, and I thought about giving Nathan some shares for passive income to ease his financial demands. But his requests grew bolder: private preschool for his kid, home upgrades for health reasons, Ethan's coffee shop needing new equipment. Each came with emotional strings, reminders of childhood sacrifices, hints that refusing meant I didn't love them. The breaking point came when I overheard Mom on the phone while visiting their house. "Emily doesn't get how tough it is for Nathan," she said. "She's so selfish with her money. You'd think with her success she'd do more." I stood frozen, holding a bag of groceries I'd brought because Mom said they were too expensive on Dad's pension. Something snapped inside me. The narrative that I was responsible for everyone's welfare, that my value was what I gave, felt like a weight I could no longer carry. When Ethan's coffee shop failed within a year, everyone expected me to cover the $50,000 loss. I wrote the check, but resentment consumed me. Horizon hit an $8 million valuation on our 5th anniversary. Alex organized a celebration with champagne and a cake shaped like our logo. "We did it," he said, raising a glass. "From your kitchen table to this." That week, I won a regional tech award for young innovators. I invited my family to the ceremony, but none came. Nathan had a migraine, Ethan had a shift, and my parents were babysitting. I sat alone at their reserved table, accepting congratulations from strangers. Daniel arrived late from work, just in time to see me accept the award. "You deserve this," he whispered as I returned with the trophy. The favoritism toward Nathan was so blatant even employees noticed. When my parents visited the office, they talked endlessly about Nathan's kids and his struggles, barely mentioning Horizon. "You need boundaries," Daniel said after a tense family dinner where my parents praised Nathan's new woodworking hobby, which I'd funded, while barely asking about my work. The idea of boundaries felt alien and terrifying. What would happen if I stopped being the provider? Would our relationship survive? After much thought, I planned a family dinner to discuss Horizon's future. Our attorney suggested trust funds or formal share agreements as the company grew. I hoped this could set healthier patterns. But nothing prepared me for what happened at that dinner. I hosted at my parents' house, the one I'd bought, thinking the setting would ease the conversation. I brought a bottle of fine wine to celebrate Horizon's success and their role in it. The evening started well. Nathan and Ethan arrived late with their kid, who ran to the playroom my parents had set up. Mom made my childhood favorite, meatloaf with roasted potatoes. During dinner, I shared Horizon's latest wins: a major retail client, plans for a New York office, and a potential AI partnership. Alex and I had worked months on these, and I was excited to share. "That sounds amazing, honey," Mom said, but her eyes flicked to Dad, some silent signal passing between them. After dessert, a store-bought pie, despite knowing I'd have brought one from a local bakery, Dad cleared his throat. "Emily, your mother and I have been talking," he said formally, "about the shares in your company." I nodded, thinking this was the discussion I'd planned. "Yes, I wanted to talk about that. We've made a decision," he cut in. "We've given your shares to your brother. He needs them more than you do." The words didn't register at first. "What do you mean?" "My shares. The 15% we own," Mom said, patting my hand. "It's best for Nathan. He has a child to think about, and Ethan's career is still shaky." "But those are your shares," I said, reeling. "Part of your retirement?" Dad's face hardened. "And we can do what we want with them. We're giving them to Nathan." Nathan sat up, a smug grin forming. "No gratitude, just entitlement. You can't just transfer shares like that," I said, my business mind kicking in despite the shock. "There are legal processes, tax implications." "Your lawyer handled it," Dad said. "We called him last week." The betrayal cut deep. My attorney, working behind my back, impossible unless they were lying. "Which lawyer?" I asked, voice steady despite my racing heart. "The company one," Dad said vaguely. Thomas or Thompson or something. Thomas Lee was our venture capitalist. Thompson didn't exist. They were bluffing, but their intent hurt just as much. I see, I said quietly. Dad, misreading my calm, added, You can always make more money, Emily. That's what you're good at. Nathan can't. He needs security. The implication hit hard. My worth was my ability to provide, nothing more. Nathan spoke, his tone sugary. We're so grateful, Emily. This will help so much with the kids' future. Kids' future. The shares worth over $1 million at current valuation would dwarf any future expenses. His words confirmed they didn't understand shares at all. In that moment, I saw my family clearly years of being used, valued only for what I gave. Is that so? I said, my voice calm but cold. Dad's expression shifted, sensing a change. Now, don't take this the wrong way. We're still a family. We're just evening things out. Evening things out, as if the house, car, insurance, tuition, and countless gifts meant nothing. I understand, I said, standing. I need to go. Early meeting tomorrow. But we haven't had coffee, Mom protested. Another time, I said, grabbing my purse and the unopened wine. The drive home was a blur. In my driveway, I broke down, sobbing like I hadn't since childhood. Years of hurt poured out not just from tonight, but from a lifetime of conditional love. Around midnight, I called Daniel. Can you talk? I asked, voice raw. What happened? He asked, concerned. I told him everything. He listened silently, then said, I'm so sorry, Emily, but I'm not surprised. This is their pattern. I know, I admitted. I just couldn't see it until now. What do you want to do? He asked, giving me the agency my family never had. I don't want to just be hurt, I said, resolve forming. I want to take action. After hanging up, I analyzed every financial tie to my family. The house mortgage, car, insurance, Nathan's kids' tuition all tied to me. I wouldn't be vindictive, but I needed to break free. I accessed my personal investment account, separate from Horizon's funds, and withdrew everything beyond what we needed for operations. I emailed Alex, explaining the situation and my next steps. He replied instantly, Whatever you need, we're in this together. He confirmed they couldn't touch my shares without my signature, but their intent required action. As dawn broke, I felt a strange calm. The pain lingered, but clarity emerged. My family wasn't a mutual support system. It was a one-way drain. The question was what to do next. Dad called at 7:30 voice tense. Emily, something's wrong with the house account. The mortgage payment didn't go through. Of course, he noticed the money first, not my distress. I've made changes to my financial arrangements, I said calmly. The mortgage is covered this month, but you'll need to handle it going forward. What are you talking about? He snapped. We can't afford this house. You know that. That's why you bought it. I didn't buy it for you, I corrected. It's in my name. I've been paying. There's a difference. Silence. What's gotten into you? Is this about last night? I need to go. Dad, I said, hanging up as he protested. Mom called in next, leaving a tearful voicemail. Emily, how could you do this after all we've done for you? Call us back. Nathan texted frantically. Mom says you're cutting us off. What about the kids' tuition? Are you doing this because they wanted to help me too? I thought you cared about family. Ethan added, You're being manipulative with your money. I silenced my phone and met with our attorney, Lisa Chen, who was shocked. They can't transfer shares without proper documentation, she said. We need to secure everything. The receptionist interrupted. Your parents and brother are here, demanding to see you. I took a deep breath. Send them to the conference room. Lisa, join me. The conference room was tense. Dad's face was red, Mom's eyes teary, Nathan fuming. What is this? Dad demanded. Cutting off the mortgage, Nathan says the tuition payment was declined. We need to clarify boundaries, I said, sitting across from them. Lisa is here for any questions about Horizon. This is family business, Mom snapped. That's the problem, I replied. The line between family and business is blurred, and it's harmful. Nathan slammed the table. You're punishing us because Mom and Dad want to help me too. No one's punishing anyone, I said. I'm separating my business from personal giving. You can't demand shares of something you didn't build. Dad's face darkened. We invested from the start. That 15% is ours. Yes, I said, and you can transfer it to Nathan legally, but you implied you were giving my shares as if you had that right. Dad shifted. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant, I countered. You see me as a resource, not a person. I placed a folder on the table. This lists every financial contribution I've made to this family over 5 years' house mortgage. $450,000. Car payments, $40,000. Insurance, $70,000. Nathan's kids' tuition, $85,000. Ethan's coffee shop, $50,000. Family trips, $38,000. Cash gifts, about $140,000. The total neared $800,000. And what have I gotten? Not gratitude or respect, just accusations of not doing enough and an attempt to take what I built. Nathan spoke first. So, you're holding your generosity over us. No, I said. It's about realizing our relationship is transactional and it only goes one way. Dad stood. We're not going to be lectured by our daughter. Either you help this family or what I asked. I think you should leave. When you're ready for a healthy relationship, I'll be here. After they left, Lisa said. That was tough, but necessary. Later, Alex called an emergency board meeting. Your parents can't touch the company, he assured the board. Emily's majority stake is secure, and we've added protections. My family's emotional manipulation escalated Mom's tearful voicemails, Nathan's guilt-tripping texts with photos of his kid, Dad's messages swinging from hostile to apologetic. I held my ground. Nathan tried to insert himself into Horizon, showing up unannounced, calling himself part owner and suggesting new marketing ideas. Alex called me, Nathan's here, telling the team to add motivational quotes to the website. I drove to the office and found him in the conference room. Nathan, we need to talk privately, I said. He resisted, but I insisted. I explained that shares didn't give him authority and his actions could have legal consequences. You just can't stand me having something, he accused. I've given you so much, I said, but you tried to take credit for what I built. After he left, Alex and I accelerated our protection plan, creating a new entity, Aurora Analytics, to hold Horizon's assets. My parents' 15% stake remained in the old structure, diluted in the new one. Their reactions were predictable. Dad accused me of corporate tricks. Mom pleaded for Nathan. Nathan swung between anger and tears. I stayed firm. For Thanksgiving, I joined Daniel's family instead of hosting my own. Their warmth and genuine interest contrasted sharply with my family's dynamic. Is family always like this for you? I asked Daniel. Supportive, interested in each other as people. That's what family should be, he said. Mutual support, not extraction. Aurora Analytics thrived, free from family demands. We landed 3 major clients and expanded our AI offerings. Employee morale rose as drama faded. Many clients followed me to Aurora, trusting my leadership. Nathan made a last-ditch effort to pull me back. Horizon's struggling without you, he said at my condo. Dad says the value's dropping. That's not my responsibility, I replied. You wanted control without understanding it. Now you have it. Dad later admitted. We made a mistake, but stopped short of an apology. Consultants say the company needs you. I nearly laughed they'd used my money to hire consultants to state the obvious. I've moved on, I said. Aurora is my focus. Therapy helped me unpack my childhood conditioning, where love meant provision. You were parentified young, my therapist said, made responsible for family welfare before you could handle it. Daniel supported me without controlling me, respecting my need for therapy and work focus. 6 months later, Aurora hit a $15 million valuation, surpassing Horizon's peak. Horizon, under my family's mismanagement, lost clients and employees, eventually selling for a fraction of its worth. I facilitated a modest acquisition to save jobs, ensuring my family got some payout, though far less than they'd hoped. A year after that dinner, I met my parents for coffee at a neutral cafe. They looked weary. You look well, Mom said. Aurora must be doing great. We're thriving, I confirmed. Just expanded to Asia. Dad shifted. About the shares, we were hasty. If we could go back. Not an apology, just a wish to restore the old dynamic. Things can't go back, I said. That wasn't healthy. So, you're abandoning us? Mom asked. I'm setting boundaries, I replied. There's a difference between support and enabling. We talked for 2 hours, me explaining how their actions made me feel valued only for money. They justified rather than understood, but it was a start. I arranged for you to get some of Horizon's sale proceeds, I said. It's in your account. Not because I owe you, but because I choose to share. Daniel proposed 6 months later, and I accepted. Your family's invited to the wedding, he said, but only if they support your happiness. Therapy, meditation, and yoga helped me manage old patterns. I began mentoring young tech founders, especially those with family pressures, sharing my story to help them set boundaries early. 6 weeks before my wedding, I hosted a family dinner. Nathan came without Ethan, who was out of the picture. I'm getting my teaching degree, Nathan said, a new determination in his voice. I need to stand on my own. It wasn't an apology, but it was progress. My parents avoided financial requests, and no one expected me to pay the bill a small shift. At the wedding, my parents attended, their presence cautious but welcome. In the car after, Daniel asked how I felt. Hopeful, I said. Not for perfection, but for something healthier. Building Aurora taught me business, but rebuilding my self-worth was the real lesson. Love shouldn't come with a price tag. Helping others is beautiful when chosen, toxic when demanded. Family means mutual support, not one-way extraction. My value exists beyond what I provide. If you've ever given until you're empty, know that boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary for real relationships. True love supports your wholeness, not just your utility. What's your biggest takeaway from my story? Share below. And if it resonated, like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you for listening to my journey. May it help you navigate yours with courage and self-respect.